Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Authority Marketing Live. I should probably say Authority Marketing Live because here we get to talk to amazing authors and we talk to them about their book and their brand and all that really fun stuff. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Melanie Hirschhorn and I am a content marketing strategist for authors. So I help them create content and grow their influence online, starting with their book as the foundation. So today I have a really exciting guest because we are going to be unraveling some bullshit. And I don't normally swear when I'm, online or in front of my children, but today we're going to be doing that with an asterisk. So I'm going to bring on our guest Morgan because I am so excited to have you here. Hi.
Hi, Melanie. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry we didn't get much prep. We're just
We're
launching.
going for it.
We're just going for it. So I was checking out your book and you got some amazing reviews already and you're only in pre-sales.
Thank you.
So that's great. So why don't you tell us a bit about what you do? I'm going to change our banner here and tell us a bit about what you do and your book.
Absolutely. Thank you. So prior to writing my book, I had a career in event management, event production, and operations. So I had this big, bold, beautiful life, and I had all the things and stuff. We think that when I get the bi-coastal life and I'm traveling and I have all the money and the Mercedes and that life will be great. Well, I had all the things and stuff, and I was at my darkest bottom. And I really I'm sober. I have 8 years of sobriety. And so I know from my program that if I'm that uncomfortable, there's some stuff out of alignment. It took a long time to learn that, but I hit this point where I had this big, beautiful career and I was so dark. And so I woke up one day and was like, I'm done. I sold my business to my business partner and I basically burned down my life, everything I knew, and I set out on this spiritual journey.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that's what it was at the time. Hindsight, I can see now.
Right.
But that really was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. And so that process led me to Reiki, which is energy healing. And I had been a recipient for probably 5 or 6 years at that point. But I had this opportunity where I connected with this beautiful studio in Los Angeles, and I got the opportunity to get trained as a practitioner. And I thought I was just doing the level one and whatever. And then, of course, the universe had other plans. When I had scheduled, I had some family stuff come up. I had to reschedule. And they were like, sure, we can put you in this 1-2 combo session, which puts you into the practitioner level. So, of course, the universe was like, here you go.
Isn't that nice when it works like that?
And it's just like nice. And here you go. Yeah, for sure. And so that's really where this spiritual journey began for me, was learning about that energy healing and how to start taking care of myself.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I really wasn't at all, like across the board, no self care. My mental health was crap, um, and so this really allowed me to start to learn about my body in a new way, in a healthy way, and really just going through these levels of the energy healing space opened up all these other doors,
Hmm.
right? And so I ended up becoming a practitioner of Reiki. I started doing free sessions for people for about a year just to kind of get comfortable, build testimonials, stuff like that. And then I ended up really falling in love with it and going to the master level. So I'm now a Reiki master.
Wow.
And the more I worked with people, the more I realized I am a tremendous facilitator for other people's transformation and holding space for them and, really meeting them where they're at, probing with the right questions. And so these previous careers that I had, all of these skills kind of came together. And so really what I've done the last few years is a lot of transformation coaching.
Mhm.
And it's been such an honor. And then I always knew I wanted to write. Since I was a little girl, my mother was always like, "Yeah, she'll write books someday," and blah 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 blah. And last about this time last year, right before Christmas, I had 4 days in a row where I was in my morning meditation
Mhm.
And I kept getting this hit to call this woman who was the owner of a publishing house who publishes women's authors, and she's a developmental editor and
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, universe, like we're gonna call her. And I did. And we started working right in January. She became my developmental editor, and we started this book. I put all of my private clients on hold, and all of 2021, this book poured out of me. And so we finished writing in April. We spent the summer editing, recording the audiobook, all the fun minutia
Yeah.
that we go through. And we actually just launched pre-sale in October. Again, the universe had other plans. And the next morning we were live on Amazon.
Oh.
I was like, oh,
Oh,
this is not pre-sale. This is like
this
for
is
real, for
it.
real.
Yeah.
So really what the book is, Unravel the Bullshit, is it's part memoir, part self-help, and I've written it in 3 parts.
Okay.
Part 1 is the conditioning, part 2 is the crumbling, and part 3 is the phoenix. And so
Mm.
what I know from my work in 12-step programs is when I can show up and be vulnerable, someone else is more likely to be like, oh my gosh, me too. Rather than just writing a self help book that's more talking at you, I'm coming from almost the opposite angle of I'm sharing my truth and my vulnerability in hopes that it acts as the mirror for you to be like, wow. And maybe you're starting to become willing to look at your own life. So that was really my intention.
Okay, that's fantastic. And yes, it is nice not to be talked at, but instead to have sort of a conversation in a way, even if it's in somebody's head.
For
So
sure.
let's talk about your meditation
Yeah.
because I still can't figure out how to do it. And like you're getting all these things coming into you. So how has meditation, helped you and how would you, what would you recommend to people who really are not avid meditators, so to speak.
Thank you for asking this question. This is one of my favorite things to share on actually, because I feel like there's such a common misconception that you have to go to this white light place with no thoughts. And then we sit down to do it and we're like, WTF, that's impossible.
Right. And I don't have time to sit there and get there. I have so much going on in my brain. Just talking to you, I'm listening to what you're saying, thinking of questions to ask. Also, my phone is buzzing right next to me, plus I'm looking at the time. And that's just me in an interview. So,
Right, right. And so I think that's a really common misconception. And so most people stop right there.
yeah.
And what I like to explain to people, and I learned this by beginning my Reiki sessions with people and bringing them and allowing them to connect in their bodies. And I realized really quickly this is a theme for most people. They're like, I don't know how to slow down my thoughts. I don't know how to, like, let's just start there, basics. Like, we can't even, before we get into this work.
Yeah.
And so the way I like to explain it is imagine that you are standing at a busy intersection on the sidewalk. There's a whole bunch of cars zooming past you. You're not going to grab onto someone's car window and go where they're going. You're going to stand there and you're going to observe and you're going to go, wow, there's a lot of traffic right now. And that's the end of it. And you're going to kind of go on your way, whatever you're doing, walking the dog or whatever. And so I like to imagine your thoughts are the same way. As they're coming through your mind, you don't need to attach to them. Just acknowledge them, observe them, and allow them to pass along on their way. And they'll move. If it's your grocery list you're rattling through, it'll still be there when you're done.
Yes, it will.
And so really, I think the art of meditation is learning to understand there's different voices. And for me, the voice that's really loud in the forefront, that's my brain. That's my ego. That's my own stuff. That softer, more subtle voice, that's, your inner knowing, your higher power, God, whatever you believe.
Right.
And so as you begin to kind of let go of this pressure of being absent and clear minded, and you can go, okay, these thoughts are coming, and then finding your way back to your breath, reconnecting with your body, those things will just pass.
Hmm.
But we get so attached to like, oh no, there's a thought, I'm doing it wrong, then we're like stressed out and we're anxious. And it's like, that's not the point. That's not doing anything for us. So that's the way I love to explain it, is this analogy of like being on a busy sidewalk. You're
Yeah.
not going to grab onto a car.
I'm picturing myself flying down the road with a car holding on to its side view mirror. Yes. That's a great, great analogy. Great
Yeah, so
picture.
you don't grab onto the car. Don't grab onto the thoughts and then find your way back to your breath. And it's
Yeah.
like they'll move along.
So let's talk about the book specifically.
Yeah.
What are we unraveling? Like, what is the crap that we're unraveling here in this book?
So so much of who we are, who we think we are, and our personality is determined by our conditioning. So that could be whether, however you were raised, the schools you went to, your community, the societal conditioning of, what country or state you're in. Here in the United States, every state is different. And so really that's this, we're born, if we think of this as like we're born pure energy.
Right. We're a clean slate when we're
Clean
born.
slate,
Yeah.
clear canvas. But how we're raised, our parents, do we have our parents? Are we raised by a grandparent? Are we raised by somebody else? Then we start to get into school. Are we in public school? Are we in private school? We have all of these ideas, even down to like, the American dream. We've got this, I grew up with this conditioning of, you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you get a job, you fall in love, you have 2.5 kids, you have the house with the white picket fence, and your whole life is set by the time you're 25.
Right.
Ew.
Right. If
So
I was
really,
with the guy I was dating when I was 25,
amen. That's my
amen.
favorite. I think many of us can relate.
Yeah.
So this bullshit we're unraveling is really this conditioning.
Yeah.
So I group it generally as the societal conditioning, whatever that means to you.
Right.
And really learning, who are we? Who am I inside?
Mm.
And coming back to that takes a crumbling. You have to unravel all of this. And so that's why part 2 is the crumbling. Really, and some people it's really big and dramatic and everything bursts into flames and it's, dramatic. Other people it's more subtle and it's kind of just a stream. Okay, we're pivoting, we're pivoting, we're pivoting, finding our way more into alignment. So whatever that looks like for you
Mhm.
is different for everybody. But really the intention is clearing out all that other muck. And who am I? Most people can't, when you ask, who are you? They start rattling off their social identifiers.
Mhm.
I'm a marketing expert. I'm a mom. I'm a this, I'm a that. Those are things you do and how you show up in the world. But who's Melanie?
I love that.
Who are you inside?
Mhm.
I'm an artist. I'm
Right.
a creative. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an introvert. I built this big, shiny, out there life. And I was so uncomfortable every day because I like to just be over in my own little zone and create and help other people and, build strategies that can help lots of people. Not be the front face person out there being, big and shiny. And I want to be shiny through my passions and my creativity. But I had to get rid of all that other ick
Mhm.
recently, like within the last few years,
Yeah.
like in like early 30s, I'm just figuring out who I am. Some people don't until they're 50. And so I think that's one of the most common, is that we have to have it figured out by the time we're 22 and graduating college.
That's
No
true.
way.
You can't. I mean,
No.
well, I mean, I love how you said that because what I do now, it took me doing all the other things.
Mhm.
PR, being a journalist, having a breastfeeding clothing company. It took all that stuff for me to have all the knowledge, the skill set, the experience to get to where I am today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And did some people think you were crazy along the way?
100%.
And
100%.
that to me is when we're finding or we're coming against any sort of resistance like that,
Mhm.
whether that be your family is like, you're nuts, or,
Yeah.
any sort of external stuff of resistance, to me, that's showing you you're on the right path. Like,
Mm.
lean into that and follow the joy.
I love that you said that. I spent last week at a Joy Money retreat,
Love that.
and I have I have had a full week filled with joy today. Sorry, this week. Well, and today. Today too, but the whole week
I
because
love that.
I've come at it from a different perspective. And
Mhm.
and I love that, yes, bringing joy into our work, into our lives as a whole, that just changes the game
Absolutely.
entirely.
Absolutely. And that to me is really when people are like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And I don't want to be in this corporate. One of the most common threads that I get when working with people is, I want to leave my corporate job. I'm tired of this 9 to 5 hamster wheel.
The
But I
grind,
know
well, all the cliches we hear, they're all
the,
real.
yeah, the rise and grind and the this and the that, 100%. And so my first question is like, what brings you joy? Oh, it's walking dogs. It's, fostering animals. It's doing this art thing. It's, whatever. And maybe that doesn't have to become your new quote unquote career.
Mhm.
But if that's what sparks joy in your life, start there. Add that in. And then maybe your current situation isn't so bad and you are coming from a place of more gratitude, or you're going to feel it and be like, F this noise, I'm out.
Right?
I'll figure something else out. But
Yeah.
either way, the path is always following the joy.
I
Always.
absolutely love that you said that. I love that. Now, speaking of joy, so my joy is about marketing books, marketing, but not just marketing books, but helping people amplify their message. Because
Mm,
you, as an author, the reason you wrote your book was to make this world a better place. And
absolutely.
so let's talk about the kind of marketing that you have been doing. Have you been doing marketing? Is marketing something that, I mean, this is marketing, but what are some of
Yes.
the things that you've done? That's why we have this show. So, what are some of the things that you have done that have been successful to get the word out about your book?
So one thing I did, which was pretty unconventional, was I started, as I was in the editing process, I started doing, as a lead generator to build my list, was
Mhm.
doing live readings on Zoom.
Ooh.
And so that way people could, I know this little secret about myself from having sponsees and in my 12-step program, I have a great reading voice.
Oh, okay.
So this was my little like secret, was
Yeah.
if I start doing these live readings, and the book is written in sections, not chapters. So some are, 3 pages, some are 20, some are 40. But so what I started doing back in like May or so, before we were even in like done with copy editing, I mean just like raw.
It was just the ideas, they had been poured out on the page at this point.
Yeah, I had a first draft was
Mhm.
done, and as we were going through all these other things, I started hosting these live readings to start building my list. And so it was like 30 minutes, people would come on in Zoom and I would read to them. I'd read a section or two. So I got them hooked. I got them hooked with my reading voice. So I didn't give too much into the teaching or this or that, but
Yeah.
starting to share some of my stories that people don't know yet. And so that's how we started building my list. And then started pitching to podcasts, which
Mhm.
thank you for doing what you do for people like me. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
No problem.
And then really building my social media presence. I'm
Yeah.
primarily on Instagram.
Mhm.
I've been very resistant to, the trendy things like the video and the reels and TikTok and stuff like that. But man, it's really where it's at right now. So I'm trying to come out of my shell a little bit. Um, but what we've done was we took all of these testimonials from my beta readers and these early readings, and
Mhm.
we've just been making graphics and we've just been sharing. So I've got a teammate who's a virtual assistant,
Mhm.
and she helps me create all these things. We schedule them, and that way I'm at least consistently showing up. Because if it's just me, I'm a creative person, so I have cycles.
Yes.
That also includes rest cycles.
Yes, it does.
If
And
I'm in a rest cycle and nothing is scheduled, guess what? you're not going to hear from
You're
me for
not,
a week.
yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, and I love that you brought that up because if you want to really grow your influence online, you have to be consistent.
Hmm.
So, I love that you also know that you are gonna sometimes drop off the face of the earth for a little bit, so you plan ahead, so that is brilliant. So, thank you so much for sharing your tips. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And that all comes back to knowing myself. And rather than being like, I need to be posting and blah, 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 it's like, no, like I'm going to honor my truth
Mhm.
and I'm going to outsource.
Excellent.
And it's been great because then it's evolved into this beautiful relationship. We've actually never even met in person. We met through a spiritual Facebook group
Oh,
of
wow.
another author that we both love. I
Yeah.
put it out there like, hey, I'm looking for this. So she edits all my videos, all these guided meditations I've created, things like that. And then
Mhm.
she ended up coming on and helping me and my producer create my audio book. And so it's just has evolved into this beautiful relationship. I'm supporting her leaving. She lost her job during COVID. Now I'm supporting her to build her business.
Mhm.
I share about, it's people helping people, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
wonderful.
like what you're doing. And it's, to me, those are the path of least resistance.
I love that. So how can people get your book now that it's not actually pre-ordered?
So we are on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all online. We are on Audible. We have the audiobook is live on Audible. That just happened like a week and a half ago. So that's
Yay!
super exciting.
Yay!
And we are on Kindle. So we're everywhere. Just search Unravel the Bullshit or morganchonis.com. And then you can also, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, all the links are in my bio as well. So if you find me anywhere, we've made it pretty easy to find and get your copy. And for me, the audiobook was so important
Because of
because
your reading voice.
well, that for sure.
Yeah.
But my ideal client
Mhm.
is just like me. They're always on the go. They've always got something in their ear. They're doing 20 things at once,
Yes,
just like you. There's
yes.
a million things. And so that audiobook has been the most consumed thus far,
Good for
even though it just came out. And so a lot of people were waiting for that. So I'm super stoked about that.
I'm so excited for you. All right.
Thank
So
you.
you guys heard it. You can go to morganchonis.com or you can go on pretty much any place you purchase books, whether it's an audio book or a physical one, and you can grab her book, Unravel the Bull asterisk Bull asterisk T. Morgan, thank you so.
Sorry, I said it a few times. I know
Oh, I
you
said it
normally.
too. It's fine.
Okay.
That's what it is. I mean, that's the name. Okay. Morgan, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all that you're doing for other authors and creatives like me. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, you guys, what a fun interview. I am so excited. And I just want to remind you that on Tuesday, the 14th, which is coming up very soon, we have a free workshop. It is called All That Glitters. And we're going to be talking about how to create a month of content from your book in an hour. So if you want to sign up for that, it's a complimentary workshop and you can go to allthatglittersworkshop.com. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time.